Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Parsing John. Today we're starting a new section going through Chapter 1, verses 14 through to 18. Definitely did not have enough space for all of these verses on there. Believe we're going to be splitting this up into 4 videos, one taking 14, one 15, next one 16 and 17, and then the last one verse 18. All right, so here is our rubric, everything that we are looking for. Right there, so you should remind yourselves of that. Move that over to the bottom. Okay, and here we go. Kai hologos sarx ageneto kai eskenosen in heimin kai etheasametha tein doxon autu doxon hos monogenus para patros pleres caritos kai aletheias. All right, so our very first clause is going to be up here. We've got kai, which is an easy one. And this should tell us that the context of our previous passage, verse 13, is of great import. They are closely connected. This isn't 2 different times. Always watch for things that come at the beginning, gar, kai, that connect to the previous verses if you're entering a new paragraph. Okay, moving on. Our verb here is ageneto, this thing we've seen a gazillion times before. And this is going to be a third person, singular, aorist, and, sorry, mine went blank there, active, indicative verb, and it means became. All right, so we're looking for a singular subject as we take a look before. We've got sarx, which is definitely nominative, and hologos, which is also definitely nominative. So we know that these two go together, os there being our nominative for the second declension masculine, so nominative, singular, masculine. Sarx is a third declension, and this one is going to be nominative, singular, and feminine. And hologos is most likely going to be the subject, first of all, because it's earliest in the sentence, and secondly, because it's got an article with it. Go ahead and write the word the in there. Okay, and ageneto here can act as a linking verb, taking a subject and linking it with a predicate. So that's what sarx would most likely be. But we should still try it both ways. Logos naturally means word, and sarx mean flesh. Okay, so our 2 translation options are, starting with this one as the subject first, and flesh became the word. Which is kind of weird. The other way, and the word became flesh. And that one makes conceptually a little bit more sense than our first option. So logos is most likely going to be the subject there, and sarx our predicate. All right, kai and eskenosen. Not an easy word to say. We've got an epsilon nu there, which is going to be a third person, and it is singular. This verb is also aorist tense. You get the epsilon there, sigma there. And this is active, and it is indicative. And this one means either live or dwell. We're going to go with dwell because it's so much better. All right, just the word itself. Live is perfectly fine. Since this is aorist, we're going to need to put it into past tense. We have 2 different options. In English, we can say dwelled with an ed or dwelt. Dwelt is also better. So we're going to go with that older form of the verb because I want it to be that way. Not that what I want matters. All right, now we have a prepositional phrase before the end of this sentence. N, comma there tells us the prepositional phrase ends. And in here takes the dative, and heimin is definitely dative. And that would be plural by nature of the word. And it could be masculine or feminine. No context, not sure, doesn't matter very much. All right, so our first sentence is, and the word became flesh and dwelt among, or if you prefer, in us. In us, though, is pretty strange in English, so among is the one that's going to make more sense here. All right, next clause. And etheasametha, another difficult word to say. We've got metha there. That's going to be first person and plural. And we've got epsilon there, so this is going to be aorist tense. Also, that's sigma. And it is middle or deponent. My memory's not too clear on that. So middle, I'm going to write it down here, or deponent. And depending on which one it is, it does change the meaning a little bit. And I'll point that out in just a second. And this is indicative. We don't have a subjunctive here, which is so nice. Avoid the subjunctives. All right, so this one means saw, sorry, in past tense it would be saw, so see or behold, look at. And we've got aorist, so I'm going to make it past tense. Since we're going older English, let's do behold. And we beheld. Now, if this is a deponent verb, then it appears in middle passive form but has an active translation. Then we just leave it as is. And we beheld, a direct object. But if in fact the word is not deponent and is instead middle, we would want to translate it, and we beheld for our sake, for our benefit, something along those lines. The for our sake, for our benefit, we don't technically have to put into English, but in our notes, at the very least, it could add clarity. So I'm going to write that in parentheses because we are not sure. Something we can look up on our own time. And we beheld for ourselves. Let's do that one. And then we need a direct object. Tain here is a article. It's got eta nu, which we know is accusative, singular, and feminine. So we're looking for an accusative, singular, feminine noun. Now we've got doxan. Doxan has alpha nu, which is the variant first declension form of that very same thing. So I'm just going to add a bracket here so we don't need to parse that again. Okay, this means glory, which does not need to be capitalized. Glory, or I think fame. Sounds right. Okay, and we beheld the glory. And then we got autu. Ooh, here is a genitive singular, masculine or neuter, and we know this is going to be masculine because it is referring to ho logos. And we can go through the whole layer of things that ho logos is basically of him or his. Comma. All right, doxan. Got a repetition of doxan there, so I'm just going to pull the parsing over here. So we got alpha nu there again. Hos, our next word, is a pain. But fortunately, right here, it's pretty simple. If we had a subjunctive, then we'd have a bit more to figure out and a bit more trouble trying to place it in the sentence. But we don't have a verb at all in this sentence, which really simplifies things. So just putting in the word as for now is sufficient. All right. No special clauses. We don't get the evil hos today. All right. Glory as monogenous para patros. So we've got a prepositional phrase here, which I normally mark with parentheses, not brackets. And here we do have a bit of confusion trying to figure out where exactly this prepositional phrase fits in. So patros is genitive, singular, masculine, and monogenous here, us, is a third declension adjective, also genitive, singular, masculine. Now it could be that monogenous is modifying patros, in which case the prepositional phrase starts over here. I need to white that out. Not that I have any whiteout. However, that doesn't actually work. If we take a look at the, get a different color here, red. If we take a look at the constituent parts of monogenous, we see that it has a more special meaning than just only. It can be broken into two parts. Mono, which means alone or only, and genus, which is a word that comes from genao, which means to bear, give birth to, something along those lines. So these two together actually give us a meaning, which some translations, I believe, put in here, but not all. Only be gotten, which is probably just misspelled. only begotten, or we could say the only born one, making this a substantive adjective. So if we just had mono in the genitive here, it would make most sense for it to be modifying patros, with the preposition sandwiched between the two, which does happen. But since this is a more particular word with genus being the other half of it, we know that it has a more specific meaning than just only. It means only born. Patros does not make sense to be the noun that this adjective modifies. So our prepositional phrase should start here, end here. There's a teeny possibility that I'm wrong in this, but it is really, really tiny. So the best option is only begotten, and then para patros. Para takes the genitive naturally. I don't need a comma there. And previously, when we've seen para with a genitive, we have translated as sort of showing agency, by. But we don't have a verb here, so agency doesn't fit. Glory as of only begotten by God, which could technically work. Our other option is just showing source from, which means glory from the Father. From Father, since we don't have an article, sorry. So either one of those could be the case. I'm going to side with from, but by is still technically possible, just because this has begotten in there. All right, Father. So our translation of this one so far is glory as of only begotten, and we could stick in there Son, since it's masculine. This word can also appear in the feminine, in which case you would want to stick in the word daughter, even though this does not appear in the text. I believe Genesis, or the passage in Genesis where God is telling Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, this very word is used, and it's your only son, monogenous, I think is what's in there. That's another thing that you could definitely look up from the Septuagint. But anyway, moving on. Pleres. We've got another adjective here. We've got eta sigma, which is the nominatives singular, masculine or feminine. Since we've got all masculines before now, except for sarx, masculine is the one that's most likely going to make sense. And this one just means full or filled. The Latin equivalents. So you should note that this is not, at least as far as I've been able to tell, a derivative of a verb. So you can think of comparative words, to red here again, in Latin, satis or plenus, which I believe one of these is used in the Vulgate version. So these are, at least this one is not a part of a verb, and I don't think this one is either. Could be wrong there. And they're just adjectives that have this sort of verbal meaning, and all three of these take the genitive in what you want is full of. So plus genitive, we take a look at karitos. Os there is a third declension genitive, singular, feminine, and that would just be of grace. And so we've got a second object here that our subject of this clause is full of, and that there we have aletheias. Alpha sigma there is either an accusative plural or a genitive singular. We don't want an accusative plural. That doesn't fit at all with what we have beforehand, so genitive singular makes the most sense. Genitive singular feminine, truth. Semicolon / colon. Hard to tell in Greek. All right, so there we go. Verse 14, our translation from the beginning. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, glory as of only begotten by or from Father, full of grace and truth. Now, a couple things that we need to take a look at before we finish it off, and that's we've got articles here, and we've got other proper nouns that don't have articles. Sort of. So we've got Father without an article. And where's the other one? Not finding it. Okay, we've just got Father. So as we said back in, I think it was verse 3, 2, whenever we come across a proper noun or something along the lines of patros here, where we don't have an article. We're going to try translating it in the two different options that we have for translating it based on that verse to see which one makes the most sense. And this is all to build the idea that in that verse, the way that we originally translated it makes the most sense just on how John uses his language. So no article here. So we've got either an indefinite father or just an articleless father. So our two ways of translating this are glory as of only begotten son from a father, or glory as of only begotten son from father. So if we just say a father, well, then we have the problem of this is so indistinct that we don't know what father. The only begotten of a uncertain father there doesn't tell us much at all. It would almost be better if we didn't even have this line here. But without the indefinite article, if we translate it without that indefinite article, then we know that there is only one father being spoken about. And it doesn't have to be specific because the reader should already know about what person this is speaking. So without the indefinite article, just from father, we know that this father is going to be God the Father. And of course, Logos is God the Son. So that has internal coherency. If we use the indefinite article, as some translators want to do for verse 2, then by that logic, we also should consider doing it here, in which case we have that rather uncertain translation, which makes this entire verse less clear of glory as of only begotten from a father. And knowing which father, or knowing that the author knows or thinks we should know the father is more clear than our indefinite. I think I kind of tied that all in a horrible knot there. I'm sorry if that was not very clear. As we run into more of these, I'll try to be more clear in that. Suffice it to say, indefinite article does not belong here any more than it does with monogenous, though it's not a proper noun. And this supports, to a degree, how we translated verse 2 or 3, whichever it was. All right, I hope taking a look at this text has been helpful for you, as it has been for me, and I hope you join me in our next video as we tackle, not the video after that one, as we tackle verse 15 in the Greek. And all of you, have a good day. Farewell.